Hello everyone, this is Meenakshi Gupta here. I'm a psychotherapist practicing in Ahmedabad. I came across Visamo Kids Foundation when Indira ma'am talked about it during our book club. She talked about the mentorship program at Visamo for Visamo Kids, and she had wonderful words to say. That's when I decided to get associated, and it has been a wonderful experience so far. So today my topic is Let's Listen. Listening is such a mundane activity. We do this all the time. In fact, it's difficult to imagine life without listening. We listen to people, music, birds, noises, and so many more things. Some pleasing, others not so much. We listen through our ears, right? Ever tried listening through your eyes, heart, or instincts? The listening that I refer to today is through our whole being, the whole body. It's the listening which connects us to others. It helps us pick up cues from their world. It also helps us check in on them. When I listen with my ears, I may be able to pick up cues about what is being said, and through their tone, when I'm listening deeply, I may come to know if something is disturbing them. When I listen with my eyes, I come to know about what is the person trying to communicate through their body. I can sense it. I can pick up on their expressions and see what's going on. When I listen with my instincts, I may be able to sense if the person is able to communicate, or if they're not able to communicate something important that's going on. I can read between the lines. When I listen with my heart, I may be able to see inside them. The window may open up and I may find out how that other person is feeling. So, why is it important to listen actively? Why do we keep talking about it? It helps us engage with the other person. In this world that we are experiencing today, it is discouraged to meet people or connect with them physically or even be within 6 feet of each other. We are constantly trying to stay apart in order to protect ourselves. The basics of life have changed. World is no longer how we knew it, right? So many of us are going through anxiety and depression. There is an environment of fear, all pervasive fear. See, pandemics may come and go, but we have to stay back for each other. We have to check in on each other. We have to listen to the story that someone is not telling. We need to enhance our own existing resources to do that. We need to tune into each other. Listening actively with ears, eyes, heart, and instincts can help us get there. When we are able to listen deeply to each other, sorry for the delay. When we are unable to listen deeply to each other, we tend to assume things. We make these assumptions based on the ideas and belief system that we've acquired over the past years. They're based on whatever experiences we have had in life. It is like we try to make sense of things about others through whatever information we have about ourselves. If we do not listen, we do not collect any new data about the other person, and we use our own data that we impose on them. It becomes all about us. As they say in Hindi, मैं भी तू भी मैं. Only when we pay attention and inquire can we collect data about them. That's when the other person will feel visible, heard, and cared for. That's when we will be able to form real, authentic connections. Now, that brings me to another important topic, empathy. I'm sure all of you have heard about it. We keep hearing about this. What is it? As Carl Rogers defined, empathy is the listener's effort to hear the other person deeply, accurately, and non judgmentally. Empathy is the ability to recognize emotions in others and to understand other people's perspective on a situation. Let's take an example. Imagine that one of your classmates or teammates is upset and angry because their presentation didn't go well. Now, we have options. We can try to tell them that, okay, it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about it, right? Or we can acknowledge. that, yeah, it must be hurting. We can validate their reactions and feelings. And when we do that, it helps. It makes them one of us. But the best bet is to put aside some time for them, be there with them, offer practical support on how to get through the situation and how to prepare for the next. It is important to put aside our own viewpoint and be able to see things from the other person's perspective. Then we are able to recognize behaviors that appear to be over emotional, stubborn, or unreasonable as simply a reaction based on a person's prior knowledge and experiences. Otherwise, we won't be able to see through what is happening. We will just brand them as being too reactive. With this understanding, I would like to talk about how we can help others who are going through some emotional or mental issues. In our day-to-day lives, we work with many people. Some of them are our friends, others may be our relatives, yet others mere acquaintances. We think we know them, or we know a lot about them. And then suddenly we come to know someone is in depression or that someone has committed suicide. I'm sure all of you have gone through this experience. Then we wonder, he seemed all right. He had everything. Why did he? We judge. How could he be so weak? Many of my clients mention Sushant Singh Rajput's suicide in our sessions. When I checked if it is triggering them, some of them would say, no, I'm very strong. I don't think about suicide. Yeah, I get that thought process, right? But suicide is not about being weak. Their pain overwhelmed them so much that they preferred saying goodbye to life. It's about that. Most of the people leave clues about their mental health. They would talk about life being a burden, not having any hope. They would even talk about nothing is working out. Have you heard someone saying all this? That's your cue, actually. Or they would talk about feeling lonely, nobody being there for them. Some may mention wanting to run away somewhere, all sorts of such things. These are our cues. Something may be going on. If we are listening deeply, we'll be able to catch them. Most of them do not want to die. It is just what they feel they are left with. This is the only option they feel they have available. They feel helpless and hopeless. It is a very dark place for them. In such times, if we can tell them that we are there for them, it can mean the world. If we can make an inquiry about what is going on with them, they may get a flicker of hope that someone cares. So our listening and empathy can actually save lives. But there are many myths surrounding suicide. Maybe we can take them, discuss them today. No? So all of us must have experienced this. Someone threatening suicide is not serious. We term it as, they just want attention. The fact is that talking about suicide is a plea for help. Yes, they want attention. That's what they're lacking. They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. Threatening suicide is a sign that we need to learn more about them, that they probably do not have an effective coping mechanism, and we can help them there. Myth number 2, suicides cannot be prevented. The fact is, it is one of the most preventable causes of death. Recognizing the warning signs and knowing what we can do can really help. Most do not really want to die. They just want their pain to end, and they feel in that moment that this is the only way. Talking about suicide will cause them to attempt suicide. This is another myth which we have all heard. The fact is, talking actually reduces risk. Talking doesn't put ideas into their mind. No, it doesn't. People who are happy, have no issues, will not think of suicide even if you ask them, right? So go ahead and talk and ask. And if you cannot, then it is important that you find someone for them who can have this conversation with them. This is also quite often quoted, that most suicides happen without warning. That's simply not true. People who have suicidal thoughts, they leave so many clues. It's just that we don't know how to listen to them. They want people to know that they're suffering, but they don't know how to say it. Another myth, improvement following a suicidal crisis means the suicidal risk is over. The fact is, most suicides occur within 3 months following the start of improvement. Yeah, so the worst is not over. One has to be there with them. Yet another myth, suicide almost exclusively strikes the poor and the unfortunate. That we have all just seen in the recent past. Sushant Singh Rajput in no manner represents poor or unfortunate. It cuts across all levels. These thoughts can occur to anyone. Last, which is there in my list, only mentally ill commit suicide, or they are all psychotic. That's not true. Studies, there are umpteen number of studies which will tell us that unhappiness, not being heard, not being cared for, leads to suicide, not mental illness. So that was about myths surrounding suicides. There may be many more. These are what came to my mind. So how can we help? What precautions can we take when we talk to a person who has suicidal ideas? What are the do's and what are the don'ts? The do's, be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to pretend that you care and all. Be yourself wherever you are. Listen deeply. Be empathetic. Be non-judgmental. You don't know what's going on in their world. You can't judge. Be patient. Be calm. Be accepting. Yeah, this is happening. That's what they need right now. Offer hope wherever you can pick it from. A little simmering flicker of hope can also change things. And it's very important that the person with suicidal thoughts is taken seriously. Right? There's no harm in doing that. What are the don'ts? Don't argue with the suicidal person. That just invalidates their experience. Don't act shocked. If you act shocked, it will lead them to believe as if you never cared, you never knew what's going on. Don't lecture them on the value of life or say that suicide is wrong. Trust me, they already know that. You can't promise them confidentiality, because if things really take a bad turn, one will have to flag those. Don't offer to fix their problems. You can't. Even they know you can't. One has to fix their own problems. We can just be there with them. Any advice will fall on deaf ears in that moment. Advice is not what they need. They want someone who can be there with them, validate their feelings, and accept them for who they are. And if at all something happens, please don't blame yourself. You tried, and that's more than good enough. There are some useful questions which can be asked, helpful questions, like, checking in on them. How are you feeling at the moment? This can help them narrate their experience. How long have you felt like this? Or is it an ongoing issue? Who do you feel you can go to for support? That helps them think about who are their support system. And if there is none, then you can offer your own support for some time. Getting into what are the related factors, what are the causing factors, can also help them narrate their experience. And when one tries to talk about it, it helps take it out of the system. Not the last, but not the least. Is there anything that I can do to help? The most important question, right? If you can offer help, if you can offer hope, if you can listen deeply and empathetically, I think it can make world of difference to people who are going through this. I hope we all try to listen very deeply, actively, and empathically. With that, I would like to sign off. Wish you all the best and happy and healthy mental state. Thank you so much for listening to me. Bye-bye.